Hi there. In this lecture we see Jonathan David Tisdall against Graham Lee. This is in 1981. Let's have a look. It started with d4, e6, and we transpose into a Sicilian defense. And we actually get the pin variation. So this is the position of interest. We have e5, knight e4, and now this critical looking move, queen g4. Note that black chose knight e4, which means that, bishop d2, there is an option of knight takes d2 more than usual. So knight e4, very interesting. So here, given that bishop d2 is kind of dissuaded, we have actually queen g4. So this is a very, very powerful move, but you really need to know what you're doing with it. We have knight takes c3, and now queen takes g7 is played. So this is really a critical test of the whole pin variation. So what is actually going on here? We have rook f8. One example here, if knight takes a2 check, white plays c3, and say knight takes c1, we're taking on h8. And then here knight b5 is actually rather strong. Forget taking the knight. With the idea of knight d6 check, and it's just very, very dangerous. There's queen f6 mating after. So say, the knight move, knight d6 check, there's queen f6 as example. So what does black do in this position? d5, we can take on d6, and we end up being much better here. So this is much better for white. It's a very, very sharp position. Rook f8 is played, and now a3 is played here, and we have knight b5 check, and it seems we're back to being a piece down with white after a takes, knight takes d4. Or are we? Yes, we are, because we count the pieces 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We're a piece down. You might think, what is this, Kingscrusher? What is this? Why are we a piece down? And yeah, it's just in the nature of the position here. Black's lost the dark square bishop. We've got this dark square bishop with that counterpart, which we should really have faith in. And the key move here played is bishop g5. This means that there's no availability of queen e7. If bishop h6 had been played, as example, there's queen e7, potentially, which is useful. So, okay, we have bishop g5, queen b6. If knight takes c2 instead, this is scary stuff. King d2, queen b6. White can play bishop h6 here, and there's a check, and say d5, e takes d6. There are some checks to navigate, so white can navigate around these checks, but white is fundamentally better at the end of the day here. So this situation, trying to lure the queen away from f8, white ends up being better. It's pretty sharp stuff. The queen is protecting b2 here. It is kind of sharp stuff, but white ends up being much better. So we have queen b6, bishop d3. Here also, it seems, bishop h6 in this position is rather interesting. So say c3 here, knight f5, c takes. This position is going to be better for white. It's much more equal on material now, and white dominates the position basically, and white can even play like this to take that g file. If the rook leaves the g file, then first b3 as an example, and then taking that g file is going to lead to material gains like this. So okay, we have bishop d3, and now knight f5, and you might think, doesn't this kind of ruin everything? This is a funny thing. Yeah, it is a funny thing what happens here, I have to say. If you don't know this position, this is remarkable. So it looks as though the queen's actually been evicted and the knight's actually holding e7. And if things like queen f6, then, black gets more options, more time to do things, such as knight c6. There's just more options emerging, potentially. So we actually have bishop takes f5, and you might think, hang on, this gives black, after e takes, a powerful resource, doesn't it? Queen g6. White just castles queenside here, and queen g6 is played. So currently, black is a piece up. But there is an absolute stunner of a move in this position. It is a remarkably powerful move with the king in the center. So two key facts of the position. The king in the center. We've got a dark square bishop without a counterpart. There is an absolutely crushing, beautiful move in this position. So you might want to pause the video. Let's make it 500 points. Pause the video here. What would you play with white? Okay, the staggering e6 is played, leaving the queen hanging. Yeah. Now d5 is the response. If queen takes g7, the point is e takes d7 check. And you can see that bishop cutting its way through the escape squares of the king. And actually, after this move, rook he1 check, say bishop e6, there's rook d8 checkmate. Yeah. It is a real crusher. If f takes e6, we've got a killer common square, queen e7 checkmate. If d takes e6, we've got rook d8 checkmate. This works very well, this e6. Very, very well. Unbelievable. So just have a look at that again, you know, reality check. You know, this position, we just play this, we lure the knight away, and then rook d8. Yeah. So d5 was played, that's why. But now things get really brilliant again. Rook takes d5, threatening mate, leaving the queen hanging again. Knight c6, and now another brilliant kind of knockout blow is played. What do you think that is here? White's play here. Yeah, e7. So leaving the queen again. The queen's immune again. If queen takes g7, we have rook d8 check. And I'm mating. Wonderful stuff. So knight takes e7 is played. So what does white play here for 100 points? Okay, rook d8 check. Yeah, deflecting the king. You know, queen takes f8 is end of game now. If the game continues, then e7 drops. And here, bishop f4 check is super dangerous for black. The opposite colour bishops often favour the attacking player. That is definitely the case here. If king c6, queen c5 is checkmate. If king c8, queen f8 check, bishop e8, queen takes e8 is checkmate. Yeah, it's a super sharp game example, this game, and it's theoretically important. Yeah, what an amazing game. It's theoretically important to know about, actually, because in certain aspects, knight e4, trying to dissuade bishop d2, so going into this very sharp line where white is basically a piece down. But you really need to know that this position has got rich resources for white. You know, this position here, especially, white's not messing around moving the queen. So taking and then castling queenside is super elegant. The whole thing is just super elegant. What a remarkable game. What an amazing display of resources here with the king in the center. Hope you enjoyed this game as much as me. Thanks so much.